Let's pour another one. My God,
Let's pour another one indeed. So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another. I don't know, should we call these last minute live streams? These are just live streams with myself and Nev talking about Star Wars news as it happens. Now it's news and rumor, and there is a lot of rumor and news going around in the world today.
We can be like the alternative Fandom Menace, because we don't apply any of like we apply logic and reason to this stuff. We don't think about these things with, because you've got the Fandom Menace and then you've got the opposite of the Fandom Menace, and we're like right in the middle.
Yeah,
because a lot of people on both sides of that aisle apply way too much of their feelings, which is fair enough because it's Star Wars. It's Star Wars, and a lot of people have that emotional attachment. But for some reason, we're able to detach our emotions away from it and look at it from the real reason stuff gets done, which is money.
Money.
We think about it from a logical perspective. Oh, they did it because they don't like her. It's like, no. They do things because of money. Disney does things because of money. People do things because of feelings.
Yes. So, people do things because of feelings. Corporations tend to do
tends to do things because of money.
Yeah. If they want to stay in business, and most corporations do, they want the money. They want the cash.
Absolutely do.
So a lot of our news and rumor do come from, they come from all over the place. The one
they do always.
The one that we'll be pulling pretty heavily from is DVD Overlord, and one of the things
Midnight's Edge. Midnight's Edge's source is usually quite good as well.
That's true, and they do have a pretty good source material. But one of the big things is, and should we just jump into it and talk about
start off with the big
creating
thing.
Or the maker returning. That is that George Lucas could be returning to Lucasfilm as a major financial backer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of that is it could be interpreted a number of different ways. Now, what's interesting is if you look at the rumors that have been going on and the leaks about what's going on inside Lucasfilm, one of the big ones that came out, and this I do want to say that DVD Overlord showed the document, or at least I don't know, maybe it was just his sources are incredibly credible. But one of the things that came out a couple of months ago was that Lucasfilm employees had to register all of their social media accounts, electronic devices, saying, and it was like, mum's the word. No one speaks, no one does anything, no one talks, right? About what's going on because of the leaks and because of the rumors, right? So, although I guess it doesn't stop anyone who has multiple accounts, but on different devices. But anyways, so one of the reasons why people were speculating that was important was because Disney was cutting down, or Lucasfilm was cutting back and saying, hey, look, these rumors have got to stop. We need to stop the internal division. But that may not have been what they were trying to stop leaking. And what they may have been trying to stop leaking was this meeting that took place between George Lucas and the Bobs. And I believe Dave Filoni. I think he was there too. But definitely George Lucas and the Bobs, like Bob Iger and Bob Chapek. Now, when Lucas was when he sold the company, if I remember correctly, he had a portion. He maintained a portion of the company as
51%.
51%, right? But it was like, I'm a silent partner.
Yeah, it's kind of like on boards of governors, it's a non-executive position.
Yeah.
So it's controlling stock without voting rights. So he doesn't decide what happens with it. He just gets 51% of
the profits.
You know, certain profits. Yeah, it's like, you know, the profits come out, and you know, his dividend is big. It's kind of chunky.
Yeah, and we do know that that George Lucas is unhappy with the direction that Lucasfilm has taken this new sequel trilogy. He had an entire treatise of work put forth and said, "Hey, this is my plan for the sequel trilogy." We know.
Yeah, he had, like you just said, he had a trilogy treatment that he presented to Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah, and much like a parent looking at their children's artwork, they were like, "Oh, this is nice. We're not doing it." Right? They may have hung it up on a fridge somewhere, but yeah. But anyways, it's ridiculous, right? So Lucasfilm had apparently this meeting. The employees are hushed and said, "You can't say anything about what's going on in the realm of our office buildings. So don't say anything, and give us your devices just in case." Right?
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that that's an exaggerated rumor.
True.
Because there will literally be hundreds of employees, and it would be a breach of contract for certain employees to just all of a sudden, because you sign a contract, you know, HR, when you go and work, you sign a contract. That contract has terms and conditions that you must abide by as an employee of the company. And I can guarantee you that not every single employee will have in the terms and conditions of their contract that they are to remain quiet.
Yeah.
But you know, so there will be, for example, personal assistants, administrative secretaries.
Yeah.
There will be positions of, you know, perfunctory positions. So CEOs have executive assistants.
Yep.
Those executive assistants have PAs. They will be trying to keep them quiet. So without a renewal of contract with new terms and conditions, you can't just all of a sudden apply a non-disclosure agreement to these people, which is why I think that it's been completely and utterly overblown.
And you're probably right. When I first heard that, I was like, I can totally see a company trying to rein people in and saying, "Hey, look, if we find out that you're the one that's been leaking, then
your contract will not be renewed. Not
just renewed, we'll let you go," because that would be a breach, right? I could totally see
only if it's in the terms and conditions of someone's contract.
That's true.
That's like trying to retrospectively add into someone's contract. Right. I know that your contract that is currently, you know, got 2 years on it has nothing to do with has nothing in there about random drug tests, but we're going to start randomly drug testing you. It's like, well, it's not in my contract, so no, you're not.
Well,
and it's like, well, if you don't submit to these random drug tests, when your contract is due for renewal in 2 years, we're going to put it in and you're going to sign it, or we're going to let you go.
Yeah.
So it's the threat of future punishment to these people.
See, and I personally, and HR arguments aside,
my mother used to be used to run HR for the entire Northern Hemisphere of Wrigley Company. I know a thing or two about what HR can and cannot do through general conversations.
Here, Nev. We're name dropping.
Yes, we're name dropping. My mother was in. Yeah, your father-in-law. Okay, go on then.
No, but like from what I've experienced in my own employ, I have seen companies say, "Hey, look, we have proprietary technology or we have proprietary information that you cannot leverage." Right, regardless of who you are in the company, that's something that's a standard, you know, boilerplate type thing. And so I do think that even those PAs, while they may not be in on the major secrets, they may not be in on the major whatever, I do think that there is a level of, hey, even still, if we find out that you're leaking information, we're going to let you go because
that's where all of these leaks and these rumors are coming from. They're not coming from CEOs. They're not coming from executives. They're not coming from those tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 people. They're coming from people that are running around like blue ass flies, fetching people's dry cleaning, making coffees, answering phones, writing up schedules, and seeing and hearing things. The people that are on the $30, $40, $50,000 a year, the interns, that's where these rumors are coming from. They're not coming from executive positions. They're coming from the mail boy, the secretary, the woman that answers the phone at the front of the building. Oh my God, Gina Carano just walked in through the building.
Yeah.
Doomcock, Gina Carano just walked. That's what it is. That's where these rumors come from.
I think that a lot of that is potentially there, but I think also if those rumors are true, if the anger, the angst, the frustration that's been going on inside of Lucasfilm are accurate, then what we're also seeing is even those higher ups, maybe not the Dave Filoni's, maybe not, what's her face, KK herself, but KK wouldn't release any of this information, but like maybe not those people. However, I think that there are people talk, and people talk to people who then talk to other people, right? And so, and as you said, I think the whole social media thing got blown out of proportion. They may have just said like, "Hey, we're roping it in. We're okay." But here's the thing. So George Lucas has been in contact. We do know that he's on the set. We know that he is someone who is there, right? We've seen pictures of him with The Mandalorian. We've seen pictures of him on the set of these other shows. And so it's very real that he's there.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We know that they reached out to him for The Mandalorian to be a contractor, right? Which I love, because to me it's like he sold the company, and then he's selling his services.
He's consultant,
yeah, and so
consultant services,
he's double dipping here. Maybe not. Welcome, just real quick, Darth Jill, Solomon Grundy, Jedi training bogus. I gotta actually point out, Darth Jillas, have fun over there on the Emerald Isle. But there's so much that we've seen, and we know that he has been disappointed with the direction of the sequel trilogy. Now, we also know, regardless of what the fans think, because again, the fandom is split. There are people that love the sequel trilogy. There are people that hate the sequel trilogy. There are people who've been brought into the fandom because of the sequel trilogy. There are people who exited the fandom because of the sequel trilogy. What Disney is looking at is the money.
Yeah. And this, bringing George Lucas back and him bankrolling his own trilogy is free money for Disney.
Indeed.
Because Disney are like, okay, so we just let you make a trilogy, you bankroll it, you get some of the profit, we get some of the profit. And George will be like, yeah. That's
win-win.
And they'll be like, yeah. It's a win-win. If it fails,
it's on him.
They lose nothing.
Yeah.
If it's big, if it's huge, then that's and here's the thing. I think that what will happen is George will bankroll the movie because that's what he said he'll do. Yeah. I think Disney will stump up. I think what Disney will do is they'll say to George, look, we will stump up the hundreds of millions necessary to market it, but you've got to give us back that marketing costs before we get our chunk of profit.
Yeah.
So they'll dump millions. 2, 3, 4, 500 million on the marketing. But before, so if it makes 2 billion profit, they get that 500 million back, and then the profits get cut between Lucas and because that's what I think will happen. Lucas will take back the cost to make, Disney will take back the cost for marketing, and they'll have a split on the profits, and it's free money because they know Disney knows that it would make more than enough to cover the cost of what they fork out for marketing.
Yeah. So here's what I see happening. Okay. So do you know what the sequel trilogy that Lucas had created, right? We talked about it a little before. It is Darth Talon, right? That's the one.
The you're talking about the treatments that he wrote?
The treatments that he had created.
Yeah.
So it's Darth Talon, right? And Darth Talon, again, powerful Sith female self-created. I don't know why Kathleen Kennedy didn't choose this, because it is like totally her. I mean, it's self-created, former slave turned
and evil.
Knight,
and evil.
Yeah, and evil. Former slave turned queen of the Sith, right? Lady of, I think that's what they call Lady Sith, not Darth, but Lady of Darkness, or I forget the actual term. As everyone knows, I spent more of my time learning of the Jedi and their ways that I don't focus on the Sith, and so I'm not as familiar. But
yeah, the anti-hero has been hot for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
The anti-hero, because that's what, I mean, let's be honest, that's what she would be. She'd be an anti-hero.
Yeah. Wait.
She would be, a Darth Talon character would be an anti-hero.
So but the way that I see this is it would be the rise and fall, much like we saw with Anakin, or much like we saw with not Kylo Ren, but Ben Solo. Is it Ben? No, Jason Solo. That's who I'm thinking. What Jason Solo went through, right? His rise to darkness and then fall. Same concept, right? Now, here's the thing with all of this, and this is why I think a lot of this is making sense for me, is what we've seen and the rumors that they've talked about is, first off, we know that Star Wars is all interconnected. Nothing is alone, right? One thing,
except the comics.
Even the comics. Even the comics lead to something else, right? I mean, the
TV shows have already the TV shows are already discounting the comics.
That's true, but that doesn't mean that they're not part of it, right? So the way that they're, and I know that people don't like this analogy, but I think it's incredibly apt, and I do think it's the way that Lucasfilm is doing this. Pablo Hidalgo came out and said that legacy or legends material is like a mythos, right? You could retell. So, for example, if I'm telling my kids the Greek hero stories, the Greek stories of Greek gods, I'm going to leave out the fact that, I'm going to leave out half the facts, to be completely honest, because I'm talking to children, right? I don't remember what Zeus did to the ocean. I think he had sex with it, and then, demons came out. I can't remember exactly what it was. My mythology is pretty terrible, right? But they tweak it for their audience, right? The stories that are told in the comics are those myths that are maybe a little tweaked, right? We saw in the comic Kanan Jarrus, or was it called Kanan? We saw Kanan Jarrus's introduction, and then in the Bad Batch we saw it completely changed.
Different.
Yeah, well, not completely, but very different still, right?
Oh yes.
Very different still. And so the problem with that is it's the same concept, right? Deepa Billaba was killed, Kanan was chased down, but we don't necessarily understand. We didn't realize that the Bad Batch was somehow involved, right? That's going back and fixing something that maybe didn't need to be fixed, right? We've seen it a couple different times in the comics, but that doesn't mean something like that didn't happen in lore, right? Because it is a lore, right? So this is what I see. I see them bringing that back. I see them retelling her story, much like we saw with Jason Solo. I see a
I
dark
don't
talent being
care.
brought back in.
I don't care what they do or how they do it.
Yeah.
Just give me a good story.
Exactly.
Give me a good story. Give me some good characters. I don't care. I've said to you before when we've talked about the sequel trilogy, if they wanted to take the sequel trilogy characters as kids now and give us a completely different backstory, I would be 100% on board with that. Take Rey off that planet. Have her being I mean, it's completely different to how the sequel trilogy is, but it would make her character better. Ben Solo being trained, as a teenage boy, by Luke Skywalker, giving us that depth of character in the kid's youth, and then moving forward with that. People would be like, so do you like Rey now? It's like, yeah, because there are people that don't like Rey now. I don't like Rey now. I don't like Kylo Ren or Ben Solo now. If you redid them and started again from a TV series and showed how they, gave them adventures and exploits as two teenage best friends, a Jedi Academy, I think something like that would be incredibly awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
And, oh my God, would the Reylos fall in love with something like that? It's like, oh my God, they're going to fall in love as kids and it's that they would be like, yeah, screw the sequel trilogy, make them grow up together, and then they'll fall in love and they'll get married and have beautiful babies. So even the Reylos would be happy to see the sequel trilogy gone if we got I know that's a bit of a but
you're right.
It better stories, better characters, and even me being a ridiculously uber EU and Legends fan, I don't have issues if they take bits and pieces here, or if they don't use it at all, as long as they're creating newer or better characters and they're giving us good stories. Because at the end of the day, that's all a Star Wars fan wants, is a good story.
Exactly.
I've admitted to you that not every single extended universe book is a banger. I mean, there are some absolute stinkers out there. They're really, I mean, what's his face? Eckhart's Ladder was talking about one of the stinkers from the extended universe in a live stream recently. I saw the notification came up on my phone. I'm like, is this extended universe book the worst ever? And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, you know what? It's not that far off. Is definitely what, and if they made that into a movie, I'd be there going, oh my God, of all of the extended universe stories you could pick to make it one, why did you choose that one? It's not one of the best. So
but here's the thing, and I lost my train of thought there for a moment. But what we do know that what they're doing is they're in the Filoni verse, they're taking this new all of everything and they're connecting it, right? They're doing what the Marvel universe did with the Thanos and all of that, with the TV shows and then the movies and the standalones and the movies, but they're doing it mostly with the TV shows.
With the TV shows,
Right. They're doing it mostly with the TV shows. They've talked about introducing some films to then be companions to the TV shows, but the main focus would be Disney Plus, right? And we do know that they're Disney's main focus, direct to streaming, DTS, right? That is their bread and butter. And Star Wars will bring that in. A Star Wars trilogy will absolutely bring that in. And if you are having George Lucas return, this is absolutely huge. Because right now, we have the Padawan at the helm. We have Dave Filoni, Jedi Knight, Dave Filoni, Jedi Master Dave Filoni, and then they want to bring in, they're potentially rumored to bring in Grand Master George Lucas. I mean,
Dave Filoni's not quite master status yet. He's Jedi Knight status.
You don't think he's Jedi master
Knight
status?
No, he's not master status. Not yet. He's not master status just yet. He could be.
I think they gave him the rank of master just recently.
He's
not on the council.
He's just not on the council. Yeah, no, he's not master status yet. The Bad Batch, we'll see. You know, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens at the end of the Bad Batch, because like we've said, if season one, if season one is a stinker, you know, if we get to the end of season one and we're thinking to ourselves, just hurry up and give us season two, because I was not impressed with season one. You know, if season one's a Parks and Recreation, people are going to be annoyed because we know that we're going to have to wait 9 months for season two. Yeah. Because then everybody's going to be like, please be a season 2 of Parks and Rec. And it's like, oh, you have totally redeemed yourself.
Yep. And Wrecker becomes the balls. What's his name? Oh, the Bacon Man.
Bacon Man?
Oh, the guy who loves bacon. But oh my
bacon?
Gosh. In Parks and Rec.
Oh, Ron Swanson?
Why couldn't I remember his name?
How could you not? How could you forget Ron Swanson's name? Hang your head in shame, sir.
Consider it hung.
Yeah.
Wrecker should be the Ron Swanson of the Bad Batch.
He's not smart enough to be the Ron Swanson.
That's a valid point. He's not smart. Wrecker is the Andy of Parks and Rec.
Yes. No, that's perfect. Yes. Wrecker is the Andy of Parks and Rec.
The pie guy. So I gotta say though, like I'm very excited for this. And while yes, this is still a rumor, and like it is Doomcock saying, even Doomcock said, this is a new source that gave me this rumor, so take it with a huge grain of salt.
Take it. No. Take it with a pile of salt.
A pile of salt, yes.
A pile of salt, yeah.
Based off of the other things that we've seen and the things that have actually come to pass from the rumors that have come out, and again, based off of finance, this makes 100% sense. This is something I hope happens.
It's a very feasible rumor, because it's costing Disney next to nothing.
Yeah, next to money, not nothing.
It's free money.
Yeah, and think of the hype that it will build back within Disney. Now,
oh God, the goodwill that Bob Chapek, everybody would literally be like, oh my God, Bob Chapek is saving Disney.
This is
people. There will be, the Fandom Menace will be like, all hail Bob all hail Chapek, all hail. He is trying to save Disney,
Yeah. And like, seriously, because then the people say, well, if anyone can't, if they can't please the fans, if George Lucas can't please the fans, then,
it's the perfect out for him.
It is.
He's taking none. If what is rumored turns out to be true, it is a win-win for Bob Chapek.
Absolutely,
because he gets all of the credit, but accepts none of the risk. Yep. None of the risk. If it's a winner, if it's winner chicken dinner, everybody's like, well done, Bob, you made a good decision there.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, everybody's like, well, thank you, Bob, for trying. Thanks for that's what we want. Not fan fiction, original fiction. I'm just going to switch because the batteries are dying on this. So.
Gotcha. Now, while he's doing that, like, I do want to point out that one of the things that's really interesting about all of these rumors is that with Bob Chapek, we do know that he's trying to bring this to pass. But he himself has to not just worry about Lucasfilm. He's got to worry about Disney, like the streaming service. He's got to worry about the parks. He's got to worry about the whole picture. And one of the areas that really has suffered is Disney parks. And with coming off of COVID, I think a lot of people are a little hesitant to go back. But even
especially with COVID, at $100 a cheeseburger.
Oh my gosh. Oh, seriously.
I don't care that it's for 8 people.
But I will say they're I almost said chalupas. Their churros are just delightful. And you know why they're delightful? Disney has market tested their churros to a point that is perfection. Like it is they have a recipe that is under lock and key for their churros that are like, this is exactly what the public wants. They are perfect churros. Now, aside from that though, we know that before everything that was going on, Galaxy's Edge was kind of tanking, right? Before everything that happened with COVID, Galaxy's Edge.
I wouldn't go.
I did and loved it, but I'm kind of a fan of the sequels. I love the aspects of Black Spire Outpost. I thought it was wonderful. Hondo Onaka is one of the main animatronics, so of course I'm going to love it, right? And I took my kids, who at the time were still, budding when it comes to Star Wars fandom, and so to me it was a lot of fun. Like, my children are the generation of kids that would be brought in by the sequel trilogy, right? And my own love for Star Wars. But we know that the fandom is starting to get iffy. But if you look at some of the changes that they're making towards Galaxy's Edge right now, in Disney World, they're opening up the hotel, I want to say at the end of this year or the beginning of next. Mm-hmm. So it's an entire, like, it's you book a flight, a passage on a luxury cruise line in Star Wars. Mm-hmm. And so it's like you go through the whole process, you're stuck there for 2 days, you can't leave except you go to the park. It sounds dope. It sounds really amazing. It's $15 a head. $1,500 a head. Right?
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. And people aren't going to shell it out if they're not excited about it. And if you want to get people excited about Star Wars again, you need to make a grand gesture. And that is why I absolutely think that there is a lot of leg to this rumor.
Go to the maker.
Bring excitement back to the series.
It's the only person that can do original Star Wars is George.
Yeah. Based on your definition,
it's not based on George Lucas's Star Wars.
It's George Lucas's Star Wars.
So the movie would be Star Wars.
Yeah.
And at no point in the credits would it be based on George Lucas's Star Wars. It would be
created by
the
maker himself.
Exactly.
Which is huge. Which is absolutely huge. And again, like, we know that he's been a little upset by it. We also know that, like, this is his legacy. He has a chance to come back in and make something else. I mean, he's getting up there in years. I mean, he might be nostalgic and say this was a missed opportunity. This is something that I want. There's a lot of awesomeness around this. Now, I'm really excited. Now, this same rumor, and you and I have talked about this. This same rumor has confirmed, I guess, that Kathleen Kennedy's contract, which, alliteration there aside, is not being renewed.
Called it.
Now, this is huge. It has said, and it has been confirmed. The rumor has been confirmed to at least Doomcock. But a few other places have also heard this rumor and have also supported
Collider being on the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
So we've had both sides of the coin confirming the rumor.
Yeah. And so they have all said...
Affirming.
Confirming. Not confirming. Yes.
Yeah, not confirmed. Because until it comes from Lucasfilm, nothing is confirmed.
Yeah. That she is on her way out. She is not being reassigned, which means her contract is up in August. Now, it's not like... And you and I both know they're not going to march her out in shame. they're not going to have the walk of shame wearing the same clothes that she wore the night before, kind of a thing, right? This is Kathleen Kennedy. This is someone that Lucasfilm, Disney is not going to say, you failed us for the last time. That might be what they say internally, but that's not what they're going to say publicly. No. They're going to say, she gave us the sequel trilogy. She's been a great asset. We're sorry to see her go.
Well, you see, that's not quite what's happening at the moment.
But that's not what's happening.
And this leads us, it actually leads quite on nicely to another piece of news.
Sure.
Is Jar Jar Abrams. Jar Jar Abrams is basically thrown her under the bus.
Talk about
by confirming in an interview that there was no plan. That is, for all intents purposes, throwing Kathleen Kennedy under the bus.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is. It is throwing Kathleen Kennedy under the bus.
Yeah.
No plan. No plan.
Yeah.
No plan. What's it? I mean, somebody used an analogy, a Titanic analogy. And I didn't like the analogy because I thought it was an incorrect analogy. But you could use a Titanic analogy in that, the creator of the Titanic was telling the owner of Starline, it's a new ship and we need to be going at this speed. Okay. We need a plan. It's a brand new ship. We need to be going at this speed. And then somebody else going, no, just go full speed. I want to open her up, see how she's going. And there's like, but A, it's a new ship and we need to fully prove the engines, and B, there's bloody icebergs out there. We need a plan. And you've got the owner, the big honcho, going, no, full speed ahead.
Yep.
And that's what Kathleen Kennedy was. Just go full speed ahead, and whatever happens next happens.
Yeah.
As opposed to let's have a plan. So you've got someone saying, Jar Jar Abrams saying, let's have a plan, and somebody above him going, we don't need a plan, just go full steam ahead. It's Star Wars, it'll make money.
Yeah. So what you just described was an episode of Futurama where Zap Brannigan is which, I mean, when I mentioned Zap Brannigan and comparing him to Kathleen Kennedy, I feel like is apt. But like, they're on this cruise liner and it's a very straight path and they're going to go by a black hole and everything will be great. But Zap Brannigan's like, no, what we're going to do is we're going to zigzag through these asteroid fields and we'll get enough, whatever to like put some hair on our chest. Hey, Drunk 3PO is in our chat. Welcome, Drunk 3PO.
Drunk 3PO. Hello, Governor.
Yeah. So it's essentially now the conversation with Collider. So this is what Collider posted, but this is from the interview, and this is his point. He says, I've been involved, and so this direct from J.J. Abrams. I've been involved in a number of projects that have been, in most cases, I don't know why I put parentheses there, that have ideas that begin the thing where you feel like you know where it's going to go. And sometimes it's an actor who comes in. Other times it's a relationship that as writer that has written doesn't quite work. And things that you think are going to just be so well received, just crash and burn. And other things that you think like, oh, that's a small moment, or that's a one episode character, suddenly become hugely important part of the story. I feel like, wow, this is a long quote. I feel like what I've learned as a lesson a few times now, and it's something that especially in this pandemic year, working with writers has become clear. The lesson is that you have to plan things as best you can. And you always need to be able to respond to unexpected. And the unexpected can come in all sorts of forms. And I do think that there's nothing more important than knowing where you're going.
Yeah, it's the 6 P's. It is. Yeah. It's the 6 P's. Prior preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Yeah, that's
you need
alliteration.
Prior preparation, planning.
Yes, absolutely.
If a plan doesn't work, then that's why you have when you're making a plan, when you're preparing for something and you have a plan, you have contingencies.
Sure.
But if you don't have a plan in the first place, then you don't have contingencies.
Exactly.
So I mean, I'm trying to think of I'm trying to think of an example, but right now I can't think of one because most people have a plan.
Yeah.
And don't so there's no need, there's no requirement to fall on a contingency plan.
Here's part of the biggest, and I hope this isn't too soon or offensive to anyone, but no one could have predicted Carrie Fisher's death.
Oh God, no, absolutely not.
And this was exactly what a plan could have helped with. Mm-hmm. Like, and again, like, tragic. No, I mean, nobody wants, well, first off, nobody wants anyone to die. We know it's part of life. It happens.
Yeah.
But such a sad moment for fans when any actor who's become beloved dies, who passes on, right? But if there was a plan in place, they could have prepared more effectively for something like this. No, you don't plan
you hope for
an
the
episode.
Best. You hope for the best and you plan for the worst.
Exactly. And again, had a plan been in place, that would not have been as tragic a loss to the film as it was actually to the fans.
Yeah. See, I'm quite happy to forgive and forget what J.J. Abrams has done, because the dude didn't have a plan.
Yeah.
He was, episode 9, he was making it up as he went along.
Yeah.
Because he had to. Now, back then, they were saying, oh, this was the plan all along. This is how we intended for the trilogy and the saga to conclude. We now know that was false. He's saying it. He did 7 and he did 9. He's the one saying that there was no plan. And the way that he thought that things were going to go wasn't how things panned out.
Exactly.
So what happened in episode 9 makes sense. Because I remember after watching episode 9, because I didn't care so much about episode 9, I was quite happy for people to tell me all of the spoilers under the sun. I really, really wasn't at that first.
Yeah.
But I was of the feeling when I came out of the cinema after watching it was I just watched 2 movies crammed together.
Yeah.
So that's not how you end a saga.
No. Oh my gosh.
But it does. This interview from JJ does now explain a lot. It explains 8 and it explains 9.
Absolutely.
And it also explains why Colin Trevorrow parted company with Lucasfilm. So this one interview explains a hell of a lot that happened over the previous 2 films and the past 2.5 years.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah. It explains a lot. And this is one of the reasons why I kind of get the feeling from this interview, not only is it throwing Kathleen Kennedy under the bus, which a lot of people aren't. I'm not suggesting that people want her to be thrown under the bus. I would much prefer her to quietly go off into the night and just go on, you go and work on your Indiana Jones and leave somebody else to work on Star Wars. Yeah. Okay. As much as, I lost interest in Indiana Jones after the 4th movie anyway. Yeah. The Crystal Skull was
terrible. It was terrible.
So I'm quite happy for her to go off on a tangent and work on Indiana Jones, because she can't make it any worse.
True.
It can't. It can't be any worse. And then let other people, Favreau, Filoni, George Lucas, deal with it. And it's almost like JJ is trying to curry favor with a large swathe of the Star Wars community by saying, look, you know what? I'm holding my hand. We screwed up. We screwed the pooch. We didn't have a plan. That's why it wasn't as successful as it could have been, as it should have been. 7 went into 8, 8 went into 9. It wasn't really the conclusion of a saga. It was a squishing together of a bunch of stories.
Yes.
Which is fine for someone that has no prior knowledge of Star Wars. Because we've talked about this and we've argued this before. Someone with no prior knowledge of Star Wars is going to watch those 3 movies and enjoy them.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
My youngest enjoyed episode. Really, I mean, she didn't like 8, but she enjoyed 7, and she really, really enjoyed 9.
Yeah.
I mean, she really, really enjoyed it. And, we had a conversation, having a conversation with a 12-year-old about a movie. It's a lot of fun.
It is.
But she was like, oh, this happened and that happened and this happened and that happened. And, it was all this and that. And I'm like, she was really, really excited.
Yeah.
So somebody that doesn't have the extensive knowledge of the books, the comics, the graphic novels, the video games, because people always discount the video games, and
some of the best storytelling.
Some of the best stories come from the video games. Shadows of the Empire, Rogue Squadron, the Knights of the Old Republic. We have a history. There are fans that have a history that will not. I wish I enjoyed them. Yeah. And I've said that to you before. I really, I am envious of Star Wars fans who enjoy these movies. I wish I could have, I wish I could be in their head. I wish that I could appreciate and like the sequel trilogy like people do. Because there were only 2 aspects of the sequel trilogy that I thoroughly enjoyed, and that was the cinematography and the score. Yeah. Those are the only 2 things that I can put my hand on my heart and say, wow, cinematography, wow, score, wow. But everything else was just, meh.
See, and for me, I'm kind of the opposite. Like I liked episode 7. I did. I really enjoyed episode 7. I remember leaving because we saw it as a work company where I was working at the time. And they rented out a theater. The whole company went in. It was awesome, cool event. I loved it. And I went with one of my employees, one of my team members, and I remember him leaving and like, that's not my Star Wars. And I was like, how can you say that? It was so good. And I'm like, I really liked it. And he's like, that's not my Star Wars. That's not the sequel. That's not the original trilogy. He's like, that's episode 7, 4, 5, and 6. Rolled into 1. From here on out, I'm just my Star Wars is dead.
And us talking about planning, or more the lack of, the failure to plan, leads us into the next rumor that we can discuss.
Which is?
Oh my God, you are behind on rumors, mate.
I'm all over the place.
The rumor that the Rangers of the New Republic has been cancelled.
Yes.
Emphasis now.
Before
we discuss this,
I want you to go. You take it.
Emphasis on the word. Now I think emphasis on the word. I'm just gonna give myself some illumination here.
So as you're doing that,
my face is looking all white. So
hold on. Aldry is asking. He's a little late. The role that George Lucas is potentially playing is the money, and potentially going to create a new trilogy, potentially. But all of that does play a factor into this canceling of the New Republic. Go, Nev.
Okay, so the rumor is that it's been cancelled. Now, I don't think that it's been cancelled. Cancel is a very, very strong word. Cancel, and this is why I think, when we hear these rumors, I think there's an element of truth to a rumor, and
Yes.
I think there's an element of exaggeration to it.
Yeah.
And I think the use of the word cancellation is the exaggeration. Now, when they announced all of the shows and the movies that they're planning on doing over the next 5 years, the Knights of the
Rangers Knights.
The Rangers of the New Republic was part of that. Now, the thing is, at the moment, they've only got 3 studios set up globally. They've got one in the United States, they've got one in Europe, and they've got one in Asia. So there's only a certain amount of principal photography that can be done per show. Now, obviously, we know that the Book of Mando is being done. Sorry, the Book of Boba is being done at the moment. And I do believe that there is some principal photography being done on Andor, and some is being done for Mando season 3. Not
Mando season 3.
Not Mando. There's but there is something being done on one. There's something being done. So that's 3 shows currently in pre-production. Okay. I don't think that they want to overstretch. I think that the production people, all of the employees required in order to produce these shows, I don't think that they've got the manpower to be doing more than 3. I think John and Dave would have liked to have had more done, but they've realized, quality over quantity. Quality over quantity. Very, very important. So I don't think that Rangers of the New Republic has been cancelled. I think it's simply been shelved. It's like, that's the next one. So they'll have this one, then they're going to do this one, then this one, then this one, then this one, then this one. They'll have them all lined up in a row, how they want to do it. But they've only got the manpower at the moment to do the 3 that are currently under production. So, Dave and John have gone, well, let's get these ones finished first, get principal photography and production finished, and then we can move on to what's next. And that's just the way so I don't see it as a cancellation. I simply look at it and think, you know what? The person that heard the rumor that they're not making it when when it's planned to be made has drawn their own conclusion and leaked the rumor it's been cancelled. Whereas they're just maybe a PA or an assistant or, somebody working on the set. They are not one of the bean counters that's gone to John and Dave and said, look, we don't have the manpower or the resources to start production or principal photography on that show until we are 6 months in or 7 months in on these 3 shows. Then we can take the crew needed at the starts for those ones and we can apply them to the next 3 shows.
Now, one thing that's really interesting too is this new technology that Jon Favreau has helped kind of be the front runner of, which is what all of Mando is being shot in, all of Andor, not all, but most of Andor is being shot in. Like it's revolutionizing the industry, right? It's supposed to be this huge, awesome stuff, but what Disney wants to do with it is not only make great films, but then take that technology and rent it out to other people, right? So that's, we do know that other shows are being filmed, other movies are being filmed in and around this technology. So it's not that they can just say, oh, let's postpone it 2 weeks or a month. Well, they've already got that soundstage booked. They've already got that booked for something else at that time, and they're not going to postpone something that is a guaranteed money maker, like renting it out to some other film company, production company, to just wait on something else. And so they will cancel it. All they're doing is canceling principal photography, and the rumor is that it is on the shelf, right? that Rangers of the New Republic is on the shelf. Now, this is the report from Doomcock, and one of the things that he says was that now that Dave has his position, he walks in, says, look, we need to cancel it. We need to put it on the shelf because this is a show designed in and around Gina Carano. And if it is not going to Gina Carano, it can't be made.
It can't be made, yeah.
Right? It needs to be something else, right? Which is why people are all talking about, hey, maybe we're going to bring in Harrison Dula, whatever. But really the idea is if it's not being canceled, then this is a bargaining chip, right? You've already announced it's coming. You already announced it's on its way. So
here's the thing. I think that's another part of the rumor that I think is irrelevant.
How so?
Because with Kathleen Kennedy gone, it's irrelevant.
So, and that's Dark Jill has asked, Nev, do you still think that Gina was never fired?
Yes, she was never fired.
I agree. I like
she was never fired.
I think that her name was dragged through the mud in an attempt to get her to become.
I mean, she was slandered. She was slandered, and the mud was slung, and her agency
let her go.
Thought that letting her go would take some heat off them, but at no point do I think that she was fired, and it was never confirmed by Lucasfilm or Disney that she was fired. Like we discussed it. We talked about this last week when they officially announced on Lucasfilm Dave Filoni's promotion. Okay, that wasn't rumor; it was on the website.
Yeah,
and it was them confirming something that had happened several months prior.
Yeah.
Okay. A random person with no affiliation, no proof, no backing up, saying a one paragraph quote that then goes around the world 3 times.
Yeah.
Does not make something official from Lucasfilm or Disney. So no, she was never ever fired. And if you go and watch, if you go and watch the Gina Carano, Ben Shapiro interview, at no point does she say that she was fired officially by Lucasfilm.
That's true. The caveat there is I do believe they weren't going to rehire her. But again, this is one of those money-making things where it's like, at what point were they going to just bring her back anyways? Because the plan wasn't for her to really be in Boba Fett, and not like she wasn't going to play a major role in the Book of Boba Fett. And
the plan was for her to cameo with the X-Wing pilot, so that he could pass the torch onto her, and then that would have been the commencement of Rangers of the New Republic.
Yeah. Now, on a kind of tangent with this, I still want to see Harrison Dula in live action.
Oh yeah, God. I mean, that would be.
I don't want her to replace Cara Dune.
It would be narratively impossible. I've explained this to you before.
Yeah.
She is a general.
It wouldn't make sense.
She is echelon. She's in the rear with all the gear, directing the grunts. Cara Dune is a grunt. She's a ground officer. She'd be a captain or a lieutenant. Okay. Harrison Dula is a general. The generals are not the leads in the movies unless it's a major offensive, like the battle of the Battle of Endor at the Return of the Jedi, because obviously you've got General Calrissian, you've got General Solo, so yes, they're leads.
When all hands are on deck, that's
when all hands are on deck. For a TV show, I mean, it's like Stargate SG-9. It's the colonel out there doing everything. The general is back on Earth in his cushy office, sat behind his cushy desk, and you see them in the show every now and then. Okay, that's Hera Syndulla. She's in the office, you know. So when it's time for what's the word you Guardians of the New Republic?
Rangers.
When it's time for the Rangers to go out on mission, they go to the office, and that's where we see Hera. So it's Hera Syndulla direct. It's like, oh, we need you to go do this. We need you to go to this planet and do this. Oh, we need you to go to this sector and do this. That's where I see her fulfilling a role, directing the Rangers, not being one of the Rangers. She's a general, for God's sakes.
No, I agree. Now,
captains, lieutenants, colonels, they're the ones that are in charge of the squads.
I agree. And I think you're right. I think that's where it's going to go. Now, question from the chat. Do you think we will see Sabine Wren in Mandalorian season 3 or 4? Dark Jealous, he thinks that she's a Mandalorian. It would make sense. I do think we're going to see Sabine Wren. I think we'll first see her in Ahsoka, and then she'll make the crossover into the Mandalorian. I think it really will depend on when Ahsoka launches versus when Mandalorian season 3 launches. If season 3 launches, we'll see a cameo with. If season 3 launches first, we'll see a cameo with her, and then we'll see maybe her play a narrative or a plot arc in Ahsoka. But I do think that we'll see. I think we'll see her.
You think you think their paths will cross?
I do. I absolutely do. I think it will all depend on what happens with Mandalore. If they do go back to try to free Mandalore or save Mandalore or make it habitable again, whatever, who's going to be the one to do it? Right? Will we see Bo-Katan take the lead? Will we see Din Djarin take the lead? I don't know. If we see Bo-Katan take the lead, I think it's very possible I think it's more likely that we'll see Ahsoka. Mm-hmm. If we see Mando, Din Djarin take the lead, I think it's possible. Not Ahsoka, Sabine. But if we see Din Djarin, I think it's possible. If we see a Mandalorian Civil War before all of this, then yeah, absolutely, because they got to bring in all kinds of Mandalorians to have that Civil War take place. So
I think it's like 2 for the price of 1. I think that if and when we see Sabine, we'll see Ezra.
All right.
I think that whatever they're doing in the galaxy, they're doing it together at the moment.
All right.
Because come on, they are a lot older. There was always kind of Ezra always had a thing for her.
He was staring at her the whole time.
I think that at the point where Ahsoka and Sabine found Ezra, he will be a man.
Oh yes,
he'll be a man. He'll be a man's man. And he'll be all rough and gruff and that I just think that that's just gonna the Reylos wanted to see Kylo and Rey together. I want to see Sabine and Ezra together.
That's the love story for the ages.
A Mandalorian and a Jedi. Can you imagine how awesome their kids would be?
Oh my gosh.
Can you imagine how awesome their kids would be?
We would have another Mandalorian Jedi.
Yeah.
Their child would be a Mandalorian Jedi.
Yeah.
So I think all of it, before anything happens, before we see either of those two, I think Aldry is spot on. I think we're going to see Thrawn before. I don't.
They've got to tease. You see, here's the thing. As much as I'd like to see Thrawn in an episode, I think that they're going to tease him just like they teased Thanos. That's what I think. I think that Thrawn is going to be teased like Thanos.
I do not want, and you and I disagree wholeheartedly. I do not want Thrawn to be the bad guy.
He's gonna be the bad guy. Come on, he is going to be. Yes, yes, he is gonna be the bad guy.
Thrawn's loyalty to the Empire ends the moment he loses to Ezra. Those ships are those space whales, which I think is. I loved Rebels. I loved how that ended. But the space whales, oh, come on. It still kind of irks me a little bit. They kicked him out into unknown space, right? Thrawn is going to have Ezra save the crew using, oh crap, no, I can't remember. First sight or third sight. That's what it's called. Using third sight, just like in the books. And he's going to navigate to Chiss space. I guarantee it. And Thrawn is, what's the word I want to look for? Supply chain. Thrawn is the best supply chain officer ever. He finds
logistics. You're talking about logistics.
It's all logistics with Thrawn, right? It all comes down to numbers. Part of me feels like Thrawn might be a little bit on the autistic spectrum because he's so good at seeing patterns and stuff. And I mean, you know, I don't think Thrawn should be made just for the sake of making someone autistic. But if anyone's going to be autistic in Star Wars, Thrawn. I mean, he makes sense. But like, he's so good at picking up people that are good, that are useful, and I think that's what he saw in Ezra. I think he saw someone who would help him save his people, and I think that's what he did. I think he let Ezra take him. I think he put on a show like Thrawn has been known to do, and said, "Hey, look, now that we're no longer underneath the realm of the Imperial, I need your help with my people." I would not be surprised if on the other end of this flight that they took with the space whales, if Admiral Aralani from the prequel books, from the Thrawn Alliance, I would not be surprised if she is on the other end waiting for him.
You see, I'm not adverse to a storyline that has Ezra and Thrawn working together.
Yeah,
because they would be, for all intents and purposes, they would be stuck together in the unknown regions for a certain amount of time.
Yeah,
for an indeterminate amount of time. At which point, Thrawn has convinced Ezra through the fact that they have to, survive the outer regions together. Think of it like Stargate Universe.
Okay.
They're on a busted ship in the middle of nowhere, and they need to figure out how to get back to known space. And during that time, a bunch of stuff happened. A bunch of stuff was said, because Thrawn, under no circumstances, would be like, right, Ezra, we're throwing you in the brig. And it's like, no, he knows he's a Jedi, and he knows he would have uses, and he knows that his best chance of survival in the unknown region would have been, to use Ezra.
Yeah.
And at some point, they would have got back to, the galaxy, somewhere where they'd known. And Thrawn would have been like to Ezra, look, you know what I want to do. You know what my plan is. Are you gonna help me? Can you help me find, but in the meantime, that what I need are the resources of people who I know are going to help me. And that's the Empire.
Yeah.
you're going to be able to get resources of, you know, the rebellion or the New Republic. So you go do that. I will, you know, start controlling, you know, the Empire. For all we know, I mean, you keep saying that you don't want Thrawn being the bad guy. He's just playing. Maybe he's just playing the bad guy. He's leading the Imperial remnant, and he's directing them for his ends, for his plan.
True.
And he hasn't, you know, he could be saying, Gideon, I want you to do this because we're going to make the Empire great again. Not really. I'm doing it for other reasons. But he's not going to tell Gideon. That's true. Is a Grand Admiral. Why would he have to explain himself to Gideon? He's not. Gideon will be like, I'm a Moff because I made myself a Moff. You were made a Grand Admiral by the Emperor.
Yeah.
So his rank has meaning. Moff Gideon was an ISB officer that found himself in a position of power and declared himself a Moff.
Yeah.
Okay.
And totally different.
At best, he's a colonel.
Yeah.
I mean, look how big his ship is. Dude doesn't even have a Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
He's got an Imperial cruiser. That's a colonel ship. Think about it. Think about what was that character that was Empire that flipped sides because of his interactions with Zeb? He flew around. Yeah, Callus. He was a colonel, wasn't he? No, he was a major. Was he a major or a colonel? It doesn't matter. He's that tier. You know, he was that tier of officer. He was in charge of a cruiser, same ship that Gideon
that's a valid point.
You know, so maybe Thrawn is like, you know, Ezra's conversation with Thrawn was, well, you know, if we had a bunch of Jedi, you know, maybe we could help you. But oh, what a surprise! Oh, big shame. Your boss decided he was going to kill them all.
Yep.
So now we don't have a bunch of Jedi, and Thrawn's like, well, you know, maybe we could make some Jedi.
Maybe we could.
Maybe we could make some Jedi. You know, so there are infinite amount of possibilities.
Yeah, and then Ezra comes back with the Academy of Ezra, and it's him and nothing but Chiss, and they take on, you know, the Yuuzhan Vong. Or as I've been referring to them in the new series, the Gris.
Yeah. So. And they make Sabine and Ezra the next, you know, focal point to, you know.
Yes.
So we've got phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So we've got 10 years. And then by the end of that 10 years, it's like, right, now we're all about the Ezreen. You know, and their kids,
the Ezreen,
the beautiful Mando Jedi babies that they have. You know,
yes. Oh, I would love that.
Yeah,
I would love that. Oh,
we could sit here and theorize all night, but
we could.
At least we covered, you know, the. I'm trying to think of. I think we covered the rumors. I think we've covered all the rumors in the news.
Yeah, I think we're good.
We covered. I think we have. Yeah.
Yeah, so I will say one last little thing before we go is Aldrey does say that the space whales should be the next galactic legend in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. I give that to my support. I support that entirely. But anyway, so guys, thank you for joining us tonight. Nev and I kind of talked about doing this on our last live stream when we did Bad Batch, Breaking Bad Batch.
Bad Batch, yeah. We had to delay Bad Batch because you had man flu.
I had man flu. And, you know, when you get a little sick, I still have a hoarse voice. And, you know, when guys get sick, it just ruins us. Apparently women
called man flu.
Yeah, women can work sick. I've been in and out of consciousness for a while.
That's because women are, you know, women are, you know, genetically, when it comes to genetics, they're more genetically predisposed to tolerate have a higher pain threshold and a higher discomfort and pain threshold. They just do. You know, women can take pain and discomfort better than men can. They just that's just.
I've seen the birthing process. It's disgusting.
I have seen the birthing process. Yeah.
And I never wish that on my worst enemy. And I love my wife and my children, but my goodness, I would never want. Anyways, so that being said, Sunday night we will be doing our Breaking Bad batch, pending all things go well. Tonight at 3 a.m. tomorrow, whatever. The next episode launches, episode 5 of Bad Batch. Very excited. It'll be the first time I watch it while not having to work. So very stoked for that. So catch us out on that on Sunday night before Breaking Bad Batch. Same Breaking Bad Batch time and same Breaking Bad Batch channel. Nev, what do you got going on this week?
Well, we've got our Escape Pod cast that will be live tomorrow, and we've got our giveaway. We've got our giveaway tomorrow. We've got the let me just pop it out of the box. We've got the Pocket Go. We're giving away the Pocket Go S30. So if you're a Patreon or a Twitch subscriber, you'll automatically get put in the draw. And if you watch the show live, we allow people to throw an entry in for 100 bits, or it wouldn't be fair otherwise, because the Patreons and the subs automatically get put in the draw. So we've got that on Friday. And then I'll probably do Jedi Academy on Saturday morning on Reality Skewed Gamers. And then obviously Breaking Bad Batch with you and Paul on Sunday. Awesome.
Well, that's us for this weekend. That's us for tonight. Thank you guys for joining us. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And next time there's rumors and news, which seem to be happening pretty regularly, we will
be here to dissect and tear them apart and make rational sense of them.
Yes, indeed. So thank you guys for joining us. This has been Thaddeus and Nev. Again, as always, guys, thank you, and remember to always smile and stay nerdy. Have a good one, guys.